Good evening. The October 25th, 2023 council meeting of the Long Branch City Council will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Vieira,
I'm here.
Dr. Vogt, Mrs. Wittes, Dr. Selly's absent, Mr. Dangler's absent.
Thank you. The Long Branch Mayor, City Council, and Administration. Oh, I apologize. Can I see the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jumping the gun. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Long Branch Mayor, City Council, and Administration are committed to cultivating an environmental and mutual trust and respect that all values the diversity of our community. We will strive to enhance the quality of life for all who live here by making Long Branch a desirable place in which to live and prosper. We will treat all members of the public with respect and expect the same from return. Presentations.
So I need to read the certification.
Certification by clerk, please.
I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspaper in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
Thank you. Okay, tonight we have the presentation of Italian American for the Long Branch Schools. We have Louis DeAngelis coming up. Right up to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Louis DeAngelis. I'm an 8th grader at the Long Branch Middle School. I would like to thank the Long Branch City Council for giving me the opportunity to speak about what it means to be Italian. Being Italian means 3 things to me: being strong, having passion, and of course having a love of food. First, being Italian means having strength and determination, not just physical strength, but mental strength. My great-grandmother, who was a first-generation Italian, lived to 97 and was as strong as ever. She loved to clean and make lasagna even in her old age. Next, being Italian means being full of passion. Italians tend to express their emotions a lot. This passion is part of our relationships with our family and friends. We have a lot of family debates and conversations with a lot of passion. I can tell you I've learned from those experiences. Finally, being Italian means having a love of food. It is not just the food itself, but the meals are like an event. Whether it's our traditional Sunday dinner with gravy, not sauce, or Christmas Eve, these meals bring our family together to create lasting memories. In closing, being Italian means many things to many people, but to me, it's about strength, passion, and love. Thank you for allowing me the chance to share my thoughts. No matter what your family background is, we should all know our family history and take pride in being a part of it.
Thank you. Well done. Gravy, not sauce. Reading and approval previous minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of October 11th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Vieira,
Yes.
Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly, and Mr. Dangler are absent.
Thank you. Ordinance and public hearing. 030-23, an ordinance providing for a vacate of portions of the Broadway rights of way. This ordinance was introduced on October 11th, 2023, and agrees to vacate portions of the Broadway rights of way in association with the PV Broadway redevelopment project consisting of 299 residential units, approximately 22,000 square feet of retail and commercial space and retail surface parking. The reference vacate rights of way are no longer needed for public use and are necessary for the completion of the redevelopment project. I need a motion to open the public hearing of this ordinance. Joan?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make on this ordinance only, please come to the podium, state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once on ordinance 030-23. Seeing if none, I need a motion to close.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to postpone the adoption of this ordinance 0-30-23 until November 8th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly and Mr. Dangler are absent.
Thank you. Tonight, we will be introducing the ordinance entitled, An Ordinance Establishing a Nonprofit Institution of the Higher Learning Overlay District known as 31-23. I want to clarify that this was previously introduced and adopted on the last meeting. It was brought to our attention by a property owner affected by this ordinance that they were not notified after last week's meeting. Our administration immediately checked and confirmed that my office, the clerk's office, had not notified the property owners effectively. By the ordinance, it was decided that the ordinance would need to be readopted with proper notice. The notice will include a letter explaining what took place. Ordinance for introduction. This is the first reading of ordinance 31-23 entitled, An Ordinance Establishing the Nonprofit Institution of Higher Learning Overlaying District, MUO, District in Block 70, Lots 1, 2, 3.02, 5.01, 5.02, 6, 7, 7.01, 7.02, 7.03, 7.04, 7.05, 7.06, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17.0.1, 18.0.1, 18.0.2, 19, 20, and 21. Reintroduction of the ordinance of 026-23. Summary of this ordinance establishes a nonprofit institution of the Higher Learning Overlay District for the certain land currently zoned R2 and currently bounded by Cedar Avenue and Norwood Avenue and Kirby Avenue and Vencourt Avenue. The overlay zone will permit the use of operation of nonprofit institutions of the higher learning, including undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate educational facilities of any activities traditionally incidental thereto, with to the specific exclusions of dormitories and or residence halls of any kind, athletic facilities, fraternity or sorority houses, educational service, including professional office, training centers, laboratories, wellness centers, museums or theaters, buildings or structures, customary to a hospitality management program. The ordinance further established area of bulk and design standards for the MUO district. This ordinance is identical to ordinance 026-23 adopted by the City Council on October 11th, 2023, and is now being readopted to cure a technical defect in the notice for the public hearing on the ordinance. I need a motion to introduce on first reading, advertise, and post according to law, and set the public hearing for November 8th, 2023.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly and Mr. Dangler are absent.
Public participation for resolutions and all general comments. I need a motion to open the public portion of the meeting for all comments.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If there isn't anyone in the audience that has a comment to make, please step to the podium and state your name and address clearly for the record, and you only have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Requesting 1-minute notification, Vincent Lepore, 33 Ocean Terrace, Long Branch. The introduction of the ordinance tonight, 31. At the 9/19 Planning Board meeting, when the Monmouth University overlay was approved, barring comments and questions from affected residents of Block 70 and the public at large, it was evident that many members of the Planning Board had no idea what they were doing, even after supposedly receiving the overlay advisory report. And to make matters worse, the Planning Board approved it. At the 10/11 council meeting, at the 8-minute mark, I asked you, Mr. Rainone, quote, "Why wasn't the Planning Board advisory report attached to the ordinance?" End quote. You responded, quote, "Don't know," end quote. At the 22:50 mark, at the council meeting, I stated to council after adopting Ordinance 26 of the overlay, quote, "You've studied the Planning Board advisory report and know it," end quote. At the 22:60 point, I asked Councilwoman Wittes, quote, "Should Monmouth University be successful, how many buildable lots can be created under the terms of this ordinance?" End quote. Councilwoman Wittes responded, quote, "I have no idea," end quote. At 10/12/23, one day after the last meeting, I Oprah'd, quote, "Produced the Planning Board Overlay Advisory Monmouth University Study Report, approved by the Planning Board on 9/19/23, end quote. On October 20th, the response to the Oprah from the Planning Board Secretary present at the 9/19/23 Planning Board meeting was as followed to the clerk's office. Quote, "My apologies. I do not know what an advisory study report is. I have never heard of this terminology. Sorry," end quote. So now it leads one to conclude, despite both the Planning Board and the Council acknowledging review of an overlay advisory study report, that the report, via the Planning Board Secretary, does not exist. Both the Planning Board and the Council lied. Junk government. Ordinance 31, being introduced, reintroduced from 26, quote, "Technical defects in the notice," end quote. Mr. Rainone, don't think you're going to do double billing on this one. When a resident of Block 70 stood before this council and stated they were not notified, you could have delayed the vote. No, you allowed the procedure to occur. Therefore, now we have to reintroduce an ordinance. You are not getting double billing. In the introduction, the reading of this ordinance, there are a number of exclusions. If anybody grammatically reads it correctly, in the exclusions are museums and theaters. It's wrong. When asked by me at the last council meeting, Mr. Rainone, will the theater remain, you stated, despite what the ordinance has written in it for exclusions. Mr. Rainone, on October 18, 23 at Monmouth University, the museum was dedicated to a popular personality. The people of Long Branch found out from ABC News the presentation of the museum, not from their government. How does an announcement of a museum occur when Ordinance 26 and 31 exclude a museum, as written in the first paragraph of this ordinance? I asked at the 9/27 council meeting, Mr. Rainone, at the 34:30 mark, do you know for the public record what each of these buildings will be used for? You didn't answer then, nor on 10/11. Mr. Rainone,
1-minute warning.
this is your law partner, Coughlin. The city attorney, Coughlin, Rainone, Mancello. Public officials were notified 2 weeks in advance of this event, the dedication of the museum. 1 week before that ceremony occurred was a council meeting. And this council, mayor, and you, Mr. Rainone, were not transparent. You threw the taxpayers of this city, particularly Block 70, under the bus because the Pallone pay-to-play gravy train gets a benefit. You, Mr. Pallone, laughed when I asked Ms. Wittes what were the purpose of the buildings as well. You, Mr. Pallone, were present at that dedication on October 18th. You're both liars. This council is nothing but a bunch of liars. You've proven yourselves to be non-transparent. These photos will be on the watchdogs this evening
5 minutes.
to prove the lies, the incompetence, and the non-transparency of the Pallone administration, who will throw the residents of this city under the bus
Thank
for
you.
the
Mr.
pay-to-play Pallone gravy train.
Thank you.
Junk government.
Mr. Vieira, just
ahead, Mr. Item.
Mr. Laporte's going to leave because he doesn't want to hear answers to any questions. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but the permitted uses are pretty clearly defined. I think that he was reading either the title or the summary and didn't understand the grammar, but they're clearly defined specifically. Obviously, the museum use is one of the uses that's permitted, and dormitory uses and others are prohibited. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you, Mr. Rayno. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I want to say is that in the public hearing that we had at the last meeting, I think a member of the public, it might have been, I apologize, it might have been this gentleman or one of the neighbors mentioned that it was the Springsteen Museum, and I don't think anybody in the city denied that that's what it was. It's been an open secret, if you want to call it. I don't think it was a secret, but it's been open knowledge for quite a while.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Glenn Montague. I live on 752 Vancourt Avenue, on block 70. And I guess I would just, I was at the last few meetings, I would just ask that you guys rewrite this ordinance really with the specific intent of what it is. I mean, you're creating this overlay zone and then saying what the permitted use is and putting in things like, student classrooms, this and that, but we all know what it is. It's the Bruce Springsteen Archives. And that's completely different than an overlay zone that's going to have, a labs or this or that. It's just a completely different animal. So this should be rewritten with that specific use and the intent of that use so that we can look at, the ramifications of what this is going to do. This is Bruce Springsteen. He's like he's a world famous artist. He said it in the press conference. Pilgrims come from all over the world to drive by his house in Freehold. How many people are going to come to the corner of Norwood Avenue and Cedar to go to his archives? And this is an area where 9 months out of the year, there's ridiculous traffic from the university, and 3 months out of the year, there's absolutely crazy traffic from the beach. So on top of that, we're going to add an influx of tens of thousands of people to come into this area to go see the archives of Bruce Springsteen, which is great in one sense, but at the same time, it's going to create a nightmare for the residents in the surrounding areas. And, this council is put into positions voted on from the people of this town to represent them on their behalf. And I don't see how this is going to benefit residents of Long Branch at all. It's going to benefit the owners of the big high-rises and hotels on the ocean that need to put people in their hotel rooms, but what's it going to do for the people of Vancourt Avenue and the surrounding areas? It's going to create a level of anxiety. It's going to affect our quality of life. I don't know what's going to be put there. This says there's going to be a 230-seat theater as part of this structure. What's going to happen with the Lauren Woods Theater? It's going to be knocked down? Is there going to be a huge parking lot behind my house? I don't know. And no one can answer those questions last time and probably can't now. So You know, I would just ask that this thing get pulled and rewritten for the specific use of what everybody knows it's going to be, which is the archives of Bruce Springsteen. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to?
Council President, I just want to note for the resident, and as you noted in the statement that you read, Monmouth University is planning on meeting with every one of the residents in that lot and block between now and November 8th to answer all of those questions. They're the people who should answer those questions. I think that's probably the appropriate people to answer those questions. So they do plan on doing that and holding information sessions with each one of the neighbors, either individually or as a group.
Thank you.
And that was as a result of a request from the mayor's office.
Thank you.
Need a bigger podium.
Fill the mic up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you hear me? Good? Yeah. I'm Brian Carlucci, 57 South Bath, Long Branch. I'd like to briefly speak on an intersection in my neighborhood, South Bath and 2nd Avenue. In 2023, there has been 5 separate accidents at this intersection. 3 have been since Labor Day. Motorists are neglecting the stop sign on South Bath and 2nd. Drivers are also speeding. Earlier in the year, there was a fatal accident on 2nd Avenue. My neighbors are fearful for their young children. If you drive by, you can still see that there's missing shrubbery from the vacant medical building, from the vehicles jumping the curb from these accidents. I simply just ask tonight for the council to appoint an engineer to do a site survey to get a traffic light on the other side of this fork on Bath. This is a main artery in our town. This is a present issue. This is not a 2023 issue. This is an every single year issue. I fear for my neighbors who had to put a camera up for their young children that play right on the corner in their own fenced lot. There's really not much else to say on this other than I hope that the council does something. This is years overdue. And there's only going to be more traffic here once the Seashore Day Camp site is erected. And I look forward to hearing your comments on this and seeing the progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, just so you know, as part of the project that's going up at South Bath and the Boulevard, they're putting enhanced pedestrian crossing and the intersection's actually being changed. You ever see the barrier we put up there?
Right.
Well, we had some fatals back in the day there, and when we put that barrier up, all the major accidents and obviously fatals stopped. So we've left it there, and we've got a lot of complaints. People didn't like the way it looked, but that's going to become an entire new design, and the turn lanes in that area are also getting extended.
That's motion, though.
Nope, I'm going to walk back for you, just I want you to know. So as you guys walk up there, there's actually going to be a lit pedestrian crossing area there, and then it's actually going to come 1 block in to 2nd Avenue, and that street gets redesigned and narrowed. You see how we hatched it out at one point? So we're going to try and do some traffic calming in that area on the one side so that it's not worth cutting through there anymore. So that is part of the consideration of what we're doing. We will have the guys look on 2nd Avenue itself. If you've noticed, we put some 25-mile-an-hour paintings on the ground, and we're enhancing it every single year as we do stuff, but I'll make sure they look in that area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Marsha Brown, and I reside at 111 Julian Avenue, Long Branch. This has been a real instructive meeting tonight, especially because I came to thank the mayor and the city council for appointing me as alternate to the planning board. So I'm happy to hear this information. Right now, I'm in the process of, reviewing Article 2, 6910. I think it's important that, I could be a citizen who, and I used to be, I've been in Long Branch 22 years, but I used to come to the meetings and, rough it out. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't come and bring their complaints, they should. But I'm really glad to have an opportunity to be part of the solutions if we are serious about going after solutions. And I take the duty of a planning board seriously because I think the planning board, along with the council, can really leave a legacy to the people of this city that they respect the unique cultural quality of life that's been here. It's been amazing. But I too am one of those who are concerned about, the growth and whether we're really engaging in smart growth. So I'll be looking to see where we can have some intersectionality between the planning board, the council, the zoning board, and also, I don't know who does traffic in the city of Long Branch, but every time we put up a new development, there are more cars, right? So if you build a development, they say that 10 or more spaces produces 20 or more cars. So, because, families have more than one car. So it's a lot of more cars coming. And that's why we're seeing some of the things that this young man was talking about, the way people drive, how they drive. It really is noticeable. I know in the 22 years that I've been here, I've noticed. And there are two things I wanted to mention, and whether the council will take this under consideration in its deliberations. One is that other communities, particularly one in Tempe, Arizona, this is really radical, won't allow any development to occur or they're allowing development but saying no cars allowed. I don't even know how you can wrap your head around that, but can you imagine building housing and saying no cars? But what they're doing is they're, changing the way that people are transported in their community. So they're, producing more buses, creating pedestrian, bicycle, kind of routes. So they're revamping the way that their community looks as part of their smart growth program. New York, just last month, the mayor has said that, look, we're going to build more housing because they need more affordable housing. But one of the things that he said is, we're going to do it without building more parking spaces. So again, I don't know how you do that. I'm not a planner per se, but I think that Long Branch is in a position to really do something amazing in terms of what will be the legacy that it leaves 10 years from now, where people say, oh, that city council in Long Branch knew how to produce housing so that, cars were not more valued over people, so that there were more parks, more recreation, whatever it takes to make an orderly, smart city where this culture is preserved. So I'm going to end with three questions that I wanted to leave with the council. Hopefully you guys can give me an answer. Is there, in the context of the intersectionality that I was mentioning between, planning for a housing development, but yet being cognizant of the cars that are produced by that, is there a growth management ordinance, or is that part of the master plan? That's one. Two, who decides when there'll be a new hearing on the master plan? I know the master plan reexamination occurs either every 6 or every 10 years in Long Branch. I'm not sure when the last one was, but given the rapid growth of development here and the demand for housing, it's just out of whack. It seems like we need to look at that. And then finally, where are the bike paths that we talked about to, again, encourage a different way of transporting ourselves around the city? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcia. Anyone else? Seeing there's none, I need a motion to close the public portion of this meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I will now ask Madam Clerk if there are any changes to the list of resolutions.
No changes were made.
Thank you. We can take a list of, resolutions and consent agenda. Have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr. Selly and Mr. Dangler are absent.
Applications, I need a motion to appoint the following members of the Long Branch Fire Department. Michael Wade to the West End, active.
So moved. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Vogt?
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes?
Yes.
Dr.
Yes.
Selly and Mr. Dangler are absent.
Miscellaneous, good for the order. Councilwoman Wu.
Thank you, Councilman Vier. I was going to say Council President.
Not yet.
For the evening. So just two comments. I just continue to be so impressed with our students. An 8th grader coming up and, instructing us, teaching us, telling us how wonderful it is to be of the Italian heritage in such a professional, articulate way. It's so impressive. As were the comments from Marcia, and thank you for your very insightful and thoughtful comments about the growth of the city. Good points. And with that, I hope we see you in 2 weeks back again. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Witters.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening, and, Louis did a great job with his presentation on Italian heritage, and I wish everyone well, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pallone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening and for your comments. There's a couple of events coming up this week, Halloween events that I'd just like to mention. But let me start with tomorrow night. There is the Hispanic Heritage Exhibit reception at the Arts Center. That's up at Broadway in Branchport, and that's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock tomorrow night. There'll be live entertainment, complimentary refreshments from local businesses, and art in many forms from many local artists. So please join us tomorrow night if you can. This Saturday, celebrate Halloween at Jackson Woods. That's from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll have trick-or-treating throughout the trails, free windmill hot dogs and hamburgers, and activities for the whole family. This is the second year we're doing that, and last year was a great event. So please come out for that if you can. And then on Monday for the kids, back at the Arts Center, we're going to have a kids Halloween party from 5 to 7. That's again at the Arts Center on Branchport and Broadway. This is free and will include crafts, candy, and pizza. So thank you again for being here this evening, and have a great week.
Thank you, Mayor. And I also want to thank Louis DeAngelis. He did a great job with the Italian-American resolution there. And Brian, I know exactly what you mean about that intersection. I live right off of Matilda and Eastbourne. They try not to go through the light, so they go to the stop sign. I know exactly. We stepped up a little bit on police on the 2nd Avenue. We've been going stopping cars. Our public safety director is there. If you want to ask them any questions, I know we've been on the 2nd Avenue for quite a bit right now, trying to reduce. We marked the roads as you've seen and everything, and it's going to take a little time, but we're working on that. I want you to know that. And I know that's a tough intersection. That Matilda, my mother used to cross the street all the time, and Cottage over there, it's pretty dangerous because they speed on that stretch of speed right there. So thanks for the concerns. And Marcia, if you want to get together with Shirley, Charles Shirley there, I think we just re-examined our master plan, I think about 1 or 2 years ago. And he can answer probably some of those questions for you. And I want to thank the chiefs for being back there, for being part of our meeting today. I didn't forget you down there. Good night. With that, I say good night. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And good night.